I heard that you are a TikTok sensation.
Just there were a lot of doubts that people would enjoy the type of music that I make, which is I talk about being trans. I talk about, I mean, it's not just about being trans, just the type of music that I would make as a trans person.
The shake your ass too, come on.
Exactly.
Ooh, we love
exactly.
Yeah.
Like you the shit, bitch. You ain't even the fart.
This is the Transparency Podcast Show.
Welcome to the Transparency Podcast. My name is Shane Ivan Nash, and this is Blossom C. Brown. We've got an amazing special guest for you. It's a transmasculine musician who I actually found on TikTok, Boy Bowser.
Ooh.
Welcome, Boy Bowser, to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
First of all, history in the making. One of the first events that we worked together on was the Trans Pride Long Beach, and that had, 4 or 5 trans mask musicians, DJs, etc. on the same stage.
Oh yeah, it was such an awesome experience. Getting to be around so many other like trans people, trans creatives, I would say. And I felt like there was a lot to learn from, since a lot of the trans creatives' presence have been in the game and in the industry a lot longer than I have. So it was really cool to learn and like get to like absorb knowledge by being there.
Right. And like being backstage with like Ryan and Ezra and like being in that creative moment, like how did that feel for you? Because I've known you started your journey on TikTok, I believe, 2 years ago? Is it 2, 3?
Yes, yeah. I've been making music for much longer than that, but I didn't really have the confidence because I feel like I had never really seen anybody like me making music. And so like I feel like it took a while for me to kind of take myself seriously as an artist, because I was kind of like, I don't know. There were a lot of doubts that people would enjoy the type of music that I make, which is, I talk about being trans. I talk about, I mean, it's not just about being trans, but, just the type of music that I would make as a trans person. I was worried that.
The shake your ass too, come on.
Exactly.
Ooh, we love
exactly.
that.
Yes.
We love to see it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one of the first things that I noticed about your tracks was I, as a DJ, I'm like, oh, I can actually work with this in the club.
Ooh.
And that was something that like, as soon as you came across my TikTok feed, and I was just like, who is this guy? And then I saw you already producing on Spotify, and I was like, oh my God, developing artist in the making right here. And I was so excited to learn more about you. And my first question, and of course Blossom's question as well, where did the name Boy Bowser come from?
Yes.
I've been so interested to kind of discover.
Is it by Nintendo? What's up with that? I really want to know.
I'm like, disclaimer, Nintendo, please don't sue me. I would really love...
Sponsor though.
Yeah, sponsor me, but don't sue me, please. Boy Bowser actually came from, because I'm a big video game nerd. I've always been a big video game nerd, and it comes from a kind of silly place, because before I actually used to release music under a different name. I used to release it under Sherman, because I thought it'd be like a fun Cher or Beyonce moment, like Sherman, just Sherman,
Just a single name like Prince.
Yeah, but I realized that I was like, no, I think I do kind of want to go under like an artist pseudonym. I think that would be good for my brand and the type of music I'm trying to create. But I definitely, when I came up with the name Boy Bowser, I wanted it to be something catchy and something that rolls off the tongue easy, as well as like has that acronym that I could use for like design, And Boy Bowser came simply from the fact that I was like sitting playing a game of like Super Smash Brothers Brawl, because it was a game I grew up playing for years with my brother, and
That's a good one.
I'm a big video game nerd. And
Yes.
I grew up playing that with my brother like all the time, and Bowser was one of my favorite characters to play. Bowser and Kirby.
Toad was mine.
Kirby is the shit.
I am a fanatic of Toad. I'm so loyal to Toad. It's ridiculous.
Have you seen the Ice Spice Toad remix? Yeah, no, I'm a fart,
out.
but it's Toad singing it. Yes. Well, we have to use it on TikTok now because they got rid of all the sounds. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I do
That's right.
I do a pretty good Toad impression. I actually am pretty good at doing impressions. I'm not going to do one on the show though. Maybe. Maybe. I'm thinking about
You
it.
might
I said it and
hear
I thought about
Toad
it.
now. You've opened the door. I'm gonna walk through
That
the
is
door. I'm
such a
gonna ask.
Virgo thing to say right now.
I'm good at impressions, but I'm not going to do it on the show.
You can't have it here. You can get it on episode 2.
Just invite me back on the show. I'll
We will.
do it next time.
time.
No, listen, this is your second round here because the first round, that was
That
a
is
little
true.
interesting with our sound
Shoot, I
situation.
shot myself in the foot. I guess I got to do the Toad impression.
Uh-oh.
What is it? Thank you the shit, bitch. You ain't even the fart.
Okay, make sure to clip that for yourself and use that later as a TikTok sound.
Yes, please. And speaking of TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
I heard that you are a TikTok sensation.
I wouldn't say that, but
Okay.
I will give myself some credit. I have amassed a little bit of a following on TikTok.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. It's like 15,000 followers, which I'm personally
That's a big deal on TikTok.
yes. I
Especially for transmasculine individuals who
Yes.
lack visibility.
Yes.
I think it's definitely the biggest platform I've ever had on the internet because I used to be a big Tumblr kid,
Tumblr.
and but that was mostly for like fun fan art,
Posting.
yeah, shit posting, But at most, I ever only had like maybe like 5,000 or 6,000 followers at like the height, So TikTok is like the first platform I've ever had like a platform on.
Yeah.
So it's been like really interesting to like navigate that because I've never really had like a super huge online social media presence. It's all still really, really new to me. And like putting myself out there like that is still something that's really, really new to me.
Yeah.
So I found that like I've needed to take like breaks because, it's social media.
Self-care.
Yeah.
Right.
So I
There's
feel
a
like
lot.
I feel like handling it in that way, taking like long breaks, but making sure that I still like prioritize making content so that people know that I'm alive, but so that people stay interested too.
Yeah.
So it's a weird balance, but I'm still figuring it out. But I think I'm
Yeah.
doing okay.
And I think TikTok is a really great platform for transmasculine people. The content I see on there is just really, really
Yeah.
amazing. And y'all got a bigger following than I do. I only have 4,553 followers on my tarot astrology TikTok, but then on my political TikTok, which I just started, I have 61 followers, but the viewership is a little bit more on there. So they're really horrible at shadow banning. I think, Black content creators, some of the trans content creators, transmasculine folks. And so, to have that platform on TikTok is a really, really big deal. And I think TikTok is that platform that really is taking over the world, to be honest.
bitch.
I love the sound effects. Shout out to Solomon in the building for that. And then, just to add on to that, I feel like TikTok has been kind of a great equalizer, especially for trans mass folks, to kind of amass a following. There's been so many trans influencers, especially trans mass, that have kind of popped up in the last couple of years. Like there's Sasha that's on there. There's Ezra that's on there. There's all these other folks that are kind of coming in and coming to that space. What does that mean for you as a trans man to see that visibility come into space? Because, I mean, I know you're a little bit younger than me, but I still feel like our representation isn't quite where it could be. And I think that this is kind of heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I think so too. I definitely it has been really, really nice to see how much more like accessible it is now for trans people to put themselves out there. Like TikTok really is the great equalizer because when I started making videos, I was kind of like, I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but like I think TikTok is one of those platforms that like if you just kind of really stay like committed to trying to make content, like something's going to stick and something's going to gain traction, which will in turn gain traction for everything else like on your page.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like in this mindset of like if I just keep throwing stuff at the wall, something's going to work. Something's going to stick with somebody.
Yeah.
And for like a good while, like it's funny because it was the song that kind of propelled me to get more like just traction on the
Yes,
app.
ma'am. Is that what we're talking about?
I'm actually talking about trans rights.
Oh, actually, yeah, that one did hit too, the radar. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first song I ever
It went
released.
trending through like cis platforms and all of these different platforms.
That is
Yeah.
amazing.
In good ways and in bad ways.
yeah, true.
Yeah, whenever my content, especially like the ones where I'm aggressively like trans rights, trans people. I'm a trans person. Sometimes it'll hit that wrong side of TikTok. And then, my
That's
comments will
true.
get kind of flooded with like,
Trust
you're a
me,
woman.
we know all about comments.
The
getting
libs of
flooded and hate
TikTok, from what I
comments.
hear.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, I'm like, it's a pain in the ass to deal with. But I mean, it's social media. What can you do? There's always kind of people who are going to be.
Yeah, what made you
Terrible.
want to get started in music in the first place?
Oh, I've always had a really big musical background. Back from like when I was a child. My dad has always been like a big like music guy. I grew up a lot with him like buying CDs and like showing me like different artists. He was really big on like giving me like a music education. Like music has always been something, especially on my dad's side of the family, that's always been really important to us. So like, for example, my aunt is like a church singer in the Dominican Republic. So like
Okay.
I spent a lot of time around like gospel singing, but also just a lot of jazz. My dad's a real big like smooth jazz fan. So like I grew up listening to a lot of like Count Basie and stuff like that.
And I can
Okay,
hear
okay.
that actually in your sound because the hip hop style that you kind of touch has that nuance of jazz to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just I grew up listening to so much jazz, and I don't look it, but I actually have a really big classical background. I have
Okay,
over
Bach.
well, I have a really big
I cannot deal with this one right here. I can't.
I have a really big background in like wind instruments, particularly like brass instruments. Trombone is my instrument of choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can play tuba, I can play baritone, I can play euphonium, I can play trumpet.
Not the euphonium. Oh my God.
It's not that much different from baritone. It's just bigger.
Yeah.
It's more tubing, a lot more
Play the
air.
flute.
I got the lung capacity.
Yeah.
You know?
I was a little flute girl. And
Flute's
the
hard,
little,
though.
the little triangle and the tambourine.
We love we love a percussion.
Flute, yeah.
but you
Love
know
a
what, though?
percussion queen.
The biggest one was a drum set because every year my mom would get me a drum set because by the next year I would have ripped it and torn it apart. And then she lied and said Santa Claus bought me one again because I brought up my other one. No shade to lying or whatever. Santa Claus is real. But let me
Allegedly.
take it back. Allegedly. Let me take it
Like
back.
no shade, it was Santa.
Yeah, but I always loved making beats. Like in high school, I was the beat girl and like they would freestyle to my beats or whatever. Oh, baby, I can make beats, honey. And it's just like, and I think my brother my brother had like a trumpet, and then my youngest sister, I think, played an instrument or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, music is so fruitful for the soul, and it just tells so much. It tells the stories of our experience, and I love that you are using your platform and that you're using your gifts to be able to do that. In 10 years, where would you like to see yourself?
Rich.
Not necessarily rich, but definitely.
No, we're manifesting rich, okay? Listen, I learned that lesson as a young trans man to kind of put myself in this position where I didn't feel like finances were important, but rich is definitely a goal because money does create like this cushion for you.
a cushion to be able to comfortably do the things you want to do.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's where I want to be.
Millions of dollars.
I want to be at the point where, one, I would love to establish myself as one of the faces you think of when you think of like trans artists. I really want to like push for that visibility because I know that was something that was really, really important to me.
Oh, is this you, right? Okay.
Oh yeah,
look
that
at
is me.
that.
Yeah, and so like I grew up listening to hip hop has always like taken a big part of my life as well. Like I grew up listening to it through all of my childhood because of my dad and because of my older brother. So it's a genre that's always been a big part of my life and something that I wanted to. When I started making music, like something I really wanted to express. But at the same time, like my forefront with all the music that I make is that I want to be visible for people so that the next generation of trans artists can push the envelope even further than I could have.
That's right.
And,
Speak on it.
but while I'm here, I'm going to try to push it as much as I can by being fun and sexy and silly.
Ooh.
Because I feel like, a lot of my music has comedic elements to it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know.
Yes, ma'am. When you're like, when you talk about your dick.
That was a double wet.
Right. I lost my shit the first time I heard that because like the truth in the matter is like there's this toxic idea of how to be masculine or performing in that space or whatever that is. But you're breaking those barriers, but kind of just stepping in and being like, yeah, I'm a trans man. And the other thing that I also found was amazing was the quality of the music video that you made it. And it was also a T for T love story. I don't know if you know that, Blossom.
Oh, we love T for T.
Your music video, how did that concept even come into fruition? And what was the inspiration on that? And again, I love that you used a lot of community in that video.
Yeah, the entirety of the team who helped make that music video come to life, all queer people. Like everybody was queer. A lot of trans people present in the room as well.
Sexy. Like you were getting like whipped and chained. And all, I was like, what is
Ooh,
happening?
I have to go check this out.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like, please go check out my music video.
Yeah.
We put a lot of heart and soul into that thing.
Yeah.
That music video was actually born from if you guys are you guys familiar with the app Lex?
Yes.
So that was born off of me responding to an ad that my director made that was like, hey, I'm looking for queer artists to like maybe collaborate with on a potential music video. I want to build my portfolio and like if you send me your music, you know, like I'll reach out to you. So I was like, at this point, I was still pretty early in my career. Like Yes Ma'am had just come out. So I was like, I don't know if my music's good enough to be able to pitch my music to a director for a music video. But I was kind of like, you know what? Shot in the dark. Like, you might as well, like, what do you have to lose? This person just being like, no. So I was kind of like, let's do it. So I sent over like I'd spent like an hour trying to write this email of being like, hello, my name is Boy Bowser. I'm a trans artist and I'd love to work with you. Here's some of my work. I'd love to make a music video for this specific song. And like my whole message is about, you know, trying to uplift like trans people and like as like a person of color, you know, like trying to write from my own experiences and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
And like the next day they responded and they were like, dude, I checked out your music and I fucking love it. Let's make a music video.
Yeah.
And from there we just kind of started brainstorming. But I have to give all the credit for like a lot of the scenes and like the writing just to my director Tree. They're amazing to work with and they were just so stellar throughout all of it. And like they kind of came up with like the concept and like a lot of the designs and I helped with a lot of the set design, but like everything about like the angles and like these different set designs and everything, that was all just their creation. So I really have to give all of them the credit on that. I was just the dude who made the song and provided the face.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, but you looked good in the music video, to be honest. And to see a trans man as the focus of a video in that way and to see as many folks working around you in tandem as you as kind of the front show in that space, that was so inspiring to see. And once I saw that, I was like, I gotta get you into some of the things that I'm getting into. And that's why I reached out to you about Long Beach Pride, because I really wanted folks to find out more about your music and especially more in person, because it felt like you were living a lot of the shows kind of through the internet. And I wanted to kind of bring that to the real world for you. And seeing now like music just keeps coming from you in so many different ways. And I've noticed you're even going into a different direction in your music now that's a little bit more emotional because you kind of got the sexy side taken care of. Where is that journey heading for you now with your music? Because I can see the shift.
Yeah, I actually kind of went through a little bit of a rough patch like over the past couple months and just kind of trying to like get back up on my feet. So I feel like a lot of the more emotional music I've been making has been born from just like struggling. Cause like, you know, when we're kind of in it and we're kind of just like struggling about like finances, life, relationships, like you don't feel that sexy.
No.
And not to say that the sexy music is not going to be here. I have plenty of sexy music in the vault. But I definitely, as an artist, one of the things that's been the most important to me is to always grow with my sound and to always try new things. Like I like to experiment a lot because I have such an appreciation for like different genres and like I like to dabble in a lot of different genres. Like the song I just released is vastly different than the stuff I released, you know, the year before. Like the my most recent release, Hard to Stay Sober, that song is so much different from the stuff I released, like Yes Ma'am, everything, and like Heartbreaker from my album from last year. Just because, like, I feel like vulnerability is something that I also do want to express in my music. Like, as much as I do love making fun, sexy music, at the same time, like, I am a trans person who goes through life struggles that aren't uniquely to being trans, but some that are. And, like, I feel like touching on those topics and touching on all the facets of, the struggles I go through as an artist is, something that is really, really important to me. Yeah. And I definitely, like, with a lot of the songs I've been working on recently, it's not just been pushing myself to write more, to be more vulnerable on tracks and be more emotional. I think I've also just been trying to be more critical of myself in terms of wordplay, because my thing is that I like to grow as an artist, and I always want to try to, like, improve on my sound and improve on the wordplay that I use or the, like, musical devices that I'm using, So it's always really, really important to me to, like, keep that in mind whenever I'm making music. And I think with this more emotional shift in my music to reflect the past couple months, I think it's also just really born of wanting to grow and be like, I'm not just an artist who makes sexy music. Yeah. I'm going to make sexy music still, but I also want you to know that, like, there's tons of depth to the type of work that I want to create.
Yeah, the diversity and showing that diversity is really, really important for, our trans community. And so thank you for all you do and all of the things or whatever. Now, I got to ask a quick astrology question. Oh. I heard you was a Virgo. All right, and you're talking to an astrologer here, so I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot.
Oh,
Virgos are typically perfectionist people. They are very analytical.
Or do you feel red already? I could see it in your eyes. You're like, uh-oh, I feel it.
Oh, no. I love astrology. Yeah. I love astrology so much. Yes. I'm usually that person for the group of people that I hang out with.
Me too.
Like, it's just fun being on the other end. Like,
she keeps telling me it's the Aquarius, and that's why everything is going the way that it is. And I was like, well, it's perfect time for a podcast full of tea, right?
Yes, and Pluto is an Aquarius, which technically is conjuncting your moon. And so I was going to ask, what areas of your life do you tend to be more of a perfectionist? Like, it's got to be right. It's got to feel perfect. I may only get one shot. Like, talk to us a little bit about that.
I think definitely, like, not a surprise here, definitely music. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that my friends have constantly told me and have been mad at me about is that I will hold on to songs for, like, years. Like, Trans Rights, that song had been written for about 3 years before I released it.
Wow.
It was written, produced, like everything. Like, it was ready to go for 3 years.
In the box, sitting there.
Yeah, just sitting there. Because I'm a super huge perfectionist. And, like, how it goes with a lot of my singles is I will just kind of split second, like, last second, be like, you know what? I'm just going to release this so it's out. Yeah. It's out. Like, it's not sitting in my files. So because I have a real bad tendency to hold on to songs for so long because I'm a perfectionist. Like, I've probably got at least, like, 30 fully done songs that are ready to go that I'm just like, I'm holding on to them because they're not ready yet. They're not I need to refine them.
I be on my stuff.
Listen, I love the question. I do. One thing that I also wanted to bring up is kind of back to the emotional side of your music. One thing that I'm seeing kind of in the growth, and I think it's just a natural growth for Transmasc folks, is you tapping into that emotional side and actually displaying it in a way that a lot of cisgender men are kind of afraid to be in that emotional space. And I think that it's unique as a trans male artist, you actually get to kind of navigate that space, not quite easier, but differently. How do you feel about that? And especially with, like, toxic masculinity kind of leading in and bleeding into a lot of spaces, even within Transmasc spaces. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about how you represent in that space? Because I feel like you toe the line in this really beautiful way where you're very mask energy, but you also have this kind of tapped into the spiritual side of you as well. That's very empathetic. Yeah. I mean, I could be reading you wrong and projecting onto you, but you let me know.
Well, Virgos are very spiritually private people, so that's a really great question.
That is very true. But I definitely, I feel like I definitely try to approach things from, I think I'm always thinking of approaching things from a respectful way. Like even in my sexy songs, I'm like, there is like a fine line to toe between being like misogynistic and being like playfully sexy, And like I feel like Yes Ma'am was like a perfect like cursor of that
balance there.
Yeah, and I think it had to do a lot with the difference of like the difference of position that like I put myself in the music, because I feel like in a lot of like male rap songs, like a lot of it is just like, I fucked your bitch, I fuck you, and like obviously I kind of have a little bit of that in my music, but I try to go about it in a way that's a little less
Now I had to get that one.
that's a little less.
Well, no, I mean, you even like, what was the one line where it's like, I'll bottom for you? I was like,
oh yeah, that's the chorus, baby.
Yeah,
It's yes ma'am, tell me what to do. No, I'm not a bottom, but I'll switch it up for you.
Yeah, and that to me is probably one of the most masked. Listen, Blossom loves T for T Love.
Exactly.
I told you already got a theme song.
I am.
Make sure to download on Spotify.
That was
all
the song.
platforms.
That was the song for
I
the
will
girls.
watch this. I kid you not. I'm gonna download. I'm loving every minute of this.
That song actually has a really funny story behind it. I came up with the chorus for the song in a Taco Bell drive-thru.
No way.
Because
Not
I
Taco Bell.
was driving with some of my old roommates. Like we were going through the Taco Bell driveway that was like nearby our old apartment, and they were both drunk. We had just come back from the
Wait, you're
club.
thinking of bottoming and Taco Bell? Hold on, that is a combination. I'm sorry, I just let me not interrupt. That's a messy combination, but go on.
I wasn't getting the Taco Bell. The Taco Bell was not for me. It was for the drunk people in the car. I was the
We're
designated
just
driver.
clarifying for folks.
But I had
All the bottoms are like, Taco Bell at the same time? Never. But go on.
Shout out to the bottom.
Yeah, and I forget exactly, but I pulled up to like the drive-through window. We were all like kind of being a little rowdy in the car. And like I pulled up to the drive-through window with my roommates, and like I ordered for them and everything. And the lady in the drive-through was like, will that be all for your order? And like, I think it was just because I was tired. I didn't think about the way that I said it, but the reaction of everyone afterwards was like what made me come up with the idea for the song. Because
You said, yes, ma'am.
I did. I think it's because I was tired, so I guess I said it in a way that was like, yes, ma'am. And like there was like a beat of silence from everybody, including the person in the drive-thru, and then they were like, you could pull forward. And I was like, okay. And I was kind of confused. And then my roommates were like, why did you say it like that? And I was like, what do you mean? I'm tired. I'm just trying to fucking order a Taco Bell. And they were like, no, you were like, yes, ma'am. And like, you said it like a different way. And then from there, I was kind of like, maybe I should turn that into a song.
Yeah. Are you in partnership with anyone?
I am. Fun fact about that. The person I'm dating now, my partner, they were actually in my music video. And we started talking.
BTS behind the scenes.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
The thing is, on set,
Well, we have to say that
Yes,
for the partner. Hello.
We do.
We're excited to hear that.
well, on set, it's really important for me to be professional. Like I always try to strive to be professional in those spaces. I don't want, and just because it was like a sex-filled music video, I was like, I don't want to overstep or like step over any boundaries. So that wasn't even on my radar. But like we kept having little interactions where I would go over to one of my friends and I'd be like, is she flirting with me? I don't know. I don't know if it's playful or if it's just you, or if it's like actual flirting. And they were like, you're being stupid. She's flirting with you. I was like, okay.
And then you walked up and said, yes, ma'am.
Oh no, I'm not that smooth.
I heard you were the Rizzler, actually. That's the next conversation.
I'm here for all of it.
I can be smooth sometimes. I'm not as smooth in person as I am in my music, and that's because when I'm writing my music and trying to be sexy, I can be in my own little studio space, and I can figure out how to be sexy for like a couple hours.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have the privacy to be sexy in my own space and not trip over my words, and I can redo all of my takes. So I get it, like
Love it.
all of those fun little ad libs of me being like, yes, ma'am, on my track took several tries.
Well, just so you know, whenever I listen to it, I'm like, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I even catch myself saying that I would bottom, even though I'm not necessarily a bottom, but you've inspired me to consider it definitely through the song.
Thank you.
My wife loves that. That's
Shout
the
out
next
to Shane's
episode.
wife. We love Nicole.
I wanted to ask you one more question before we wrap up today. What is it that you see when it comes to visibility for trans folks, especially trans mass folks? Where do you see your role in that? And also, where do you see that we can make improvements to? Might be a heavy question, but I'm sure
Really great question.
whichever one you want to answer first. Yeah.
Well, I think across the board, I think there just needs to be more visibility for trans men.
Yeah.
And like, I just, I really want to, I think part of the reason why I've been putting myself out there so much is because I'm like, we all need to put ourselves out there a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like I want to see more trans men at the forefront. And particularly, I want to see more like trans men of color at the forefront.
Yes.
Because like
Looking
at like a lot of the representation I had like growing up as a trans person, just like on YouTube or just like from trans creatives, a lot of them tend to be white. And, there's...
Or
It's a
white
privilege.
adjacent.
Or white adjacent, yeah. And so a lot of the times for a while, like growing up, like I was kind of like, I don't think that anyone would be interested in listening or just like engaging with content that's mine because like I'm not, I'm not white, I'm not cis, I'm not, there were a lot of things that were going against me. And so I think I just kind of like after 2020, I kind of was just fed up and I was like, you know what? No, like if there's not a space for me right now, I'll make a space because
And that's why I wanted to bring you on the episode is because I've seen that in your work that you.
Oh, I didn't know it had bitch on there. I'm sorry. Oh, I did not know it had bitch on there. I'm so sorry.
That's a point.
It just says big man. You see that?
I can't even with you,
Hey, it's got
your privileges away.
it's got the BB. It's
It did. It did.
Yeah.
Big Bowser, big bitch.
There you go.
Big bitch in the house. Let's go.
You're gonna be in trouble. You're gonna canceled all over
I
again.
know. I'm gonna get fired.
Oh my god. The comments are coming.
I know.
Damn it.
That's transphobia. Listen,
Oh,
I can't even. I just want to thank you today and just thank you for the work that you are doing and that you continue to build. And even as like a young artist, the way that you show up, or I've seen you show up allegedly on the internet, because we barely hung out, but at least the way that I've seen you show up in this space, it's been inspiring to not only see a trans man, and like you said, a trans man of color, because that is completely valid. Privilege played into a lot of the spaces that a lot of trans men had access to YouTube camera, et cetera, et cetera. And the way that you show up for community, I feel like you inspire even beyond trans mask as well. Like you inspire multiple different communities. Like if I look at your following and your comments, it's beautiful how you've built that structure. And just thank you so much for coming on today, telling your story. And one more thing for the folks, where do we follow you? What's the social media? What's the tags? Where are they at?
Oh, yes. So you can find me on Instagram at Sherman Gift Basket. That's a play on my last name.
A gift from God.
Oh, yeah. It's a play on my last name because my last name is Regalado, which kind of translates Regalado.
Yeah.
So it kind of translates into like the indirect translation is like gifted. Like it's kind of like somebody gifted something, So, gift basket. Fun little play on words.
I like the mark. I mean, I named myself Shane Ivan Nash because it's sin, so I get the whole market.
Awesome. I've been dying to push that on you. I've been dying to push that on you, by the way.
I cannot. Well, you know what, Boy Bowser? Make sure, folks, to follow.
Yes.
Go to Spotify.
Yes.
Play his music. Just put it on mute in the background and just put it on loop so we can get those plays up because it's really important to support our trans artists.
Support your local trans artists today.
Yes, and download the music.
Yes.
Follow the playlist. Follow on TikTok, Instagram, wherever you can find this gentleman. And again, thank you so much for coming today and being transparent. And I look forward to bringing you on another episode and maybe even having more deep conversations. I'm going to try to bring on Laith and other folks as well. And I would love to kind of have like a trans male artist kind of podcast. And I would love to have you.
I would love. Laith is also one of my inspirations too. So
We love Laith over here.
Yeah.
Plus, he's got abs for days.
I know. I'm trying to get to that point. I'm
Right?
very
No, you don't got to
okay.
get to that point. Listen,
You know what?
as a
Squishy
big
is sexy.
trans man, exactly.
Squishy is sexy.
Y'all
We're
see what I
not a
gotta deal
monolith.
with? Y'all see what I gotta
We are
deal
not a
with right
monolith.
here?
We can be all shapes and sizes.
That's right.
That doesn't stop me
That's
from
right.
being sexy. Just
Big
'cause I
thighs
look
save
all-
lives, all right?
Precisely.
Well, folks, my name is Shane Ivan Nash.
I was gonna say big breast is better than the rest.
Oh, my
And I'm
God.
Blossom C. Brown.
This is the Transparency Podcast. Stay tuned for more episodes. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe and follow every one of us on this couch. Have a wonderful night.